Hello, this is RR18, and today we'll be doing the tank review for the T34 Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tank in the American line. Overall, this tank is one of my favorites in the game, and I'm going to give you a quick look at my service record here. As you can see, sitting at the top of my record on battles played, I have 949 battles in the T34 out of about 12,000. That tells you that 1 in every 12 games that I've played has been in this tank. It's a very good tank. As you can see, it's one of my better win rates. At least, well, it's fairly decent, 55% win rate. A fair bit amount of XP earned in it, about 538 on average. Overall, this is one of my favorite tanks in the Tier 8. I'm actually really glad I have it. This was the first Tier 8 Premium I bought. Back when I first started playing, I had unlocked the T29. I loved it so much, and the T34 is a bigger T29. Basically, that's all it is. The gun's bigger. It's a little bit bigger than a T29, I believe, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's just a bigger T29. That's all it is, really. Looking at the stats, 1,500 hit points. That's about average. It's not as much as the KV4, the low at 1,600 or 1,650, or the T32 at 1,550. It's right there with the IS3 at 1,500. Not bad. It has a fair bit amount of health. It can take a few hits. With my setup of equipment and whatnot, I come in at 65, almost 66 tons, which is pushed around by an 810 horsepower engine. It's not bad at mobility wise. It can move, but it's not the quickest thing around the battlefield. I believe an IS3 would probably be more mobile. Speed limit of 35 kilometers per hour. Not terrible. You'll get up in about 30 on a flat terrain going in a straight line. Traverse speed is not great, 22 degrees per second. You can be flanked in this if you're not careful. Hull armor is 102. It is sloped, but it's 102. It's not going to stop much. Side armor is 76. Rear is 51. Sides and rear are going to get penetrated if you're not careful and know what you're doing. The turret armor is what is really great about this tank. The 279 at the front allows you to go hull down, and you can use your gun depression, as with most American TD heavy tanks. You have good gun depression to where you can come to a rise and put your hull over, or put your turret over the rise and shoot down or up at targets and provide only your turret for return fire. The rear armor is very good for the turret, 203. The side armor is 127, not great. So you got to be careful when you're turning your turret around. The shell damage sits in at 400 average, which is really good. Center shell penetration is 248. 4 rounds a minute. Is not the fastest. It's a 15-second reload. I know my T34, which is very heavily upgraded, is down to about a 12 and a half second reload. The turret traverse is pretty slow. It's 18. So with the hull traverse, you have a combined of 40 degrees per second. Not the fastest thing in the world. It's almost German slow. So you can be circling this if you're not careful, but I find that if you stay with other tanks, or you stay at a decent distance, you can prevent yourself from being circled. View range of 360, that's probably one of the categories it lacks. Most other Tier 8s are in the 390 to 400 range. Signal range 745 is fairly good. You're not going to lose contact with the allied tanks. But what really makes this T34 stand out besides its turret is the gun. And to show you why, I'm going to pull up the gun stats of a few of the other good guns in the tier 8s. I know the Russians have a good gun on the IS-3. Yeah, it's just the gun on the T34 is quite good. I know I was talking with my platoon buddy Kevron earlier today about the low and its gun, and when we discussed penetration, I think he was surprised at how the T34's gun looked compared to the lows. So I'm going to pull up one more, and let's see, the Tiger 2 is pretty well, let's get some variety. Let's go with the Carnarvon here. Get some different tech trees involved. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, all guns have their faults, but let's pull up the 20-pounder. All right, so I'm going to put these 4 guns here. All right, so on the upper left we have the Lowe's gun. Looking at the penetration. That's what I'm mainly concerned about, is the penetration here. Penetration of 234, not bad. Looking at the Carnarvon's gun in the upper right, penetration of 226, okay. Looking at the BL9 on the IS-3, 225, not bad. But looking at the T34, the penetration on a standard round of armor piercing is 248. As far as I'm aware, that is the most out of all the tier 8 heavy tank guns. Now, I mean, I like being able to penetrate things, and honestly, looking at the penetration values, I like being able to actually do the damage rather than bounce. Looking at the rate of fire, it is one of the slowest rates of fire that I'm aware of. It's not much slower than the IS-3, but it's still pretty slow. And damage-wise, it has the highest average alpha damage that I know of. It's fairly good, you know. Damage-wise, it's good. Aim time is a different story. It has the same aim time as the BL9 on the IS-3, although it is more accurate at the 0.35 accuracy at 100 meters compared to the 0.4 from the BL9. You can snipe with this gun. It can work. You have the same accuracy as the Jag Panther 2, the tank destroyer with the 128 millimeter. But the aim time is pretty slow. Overall, I mean, considering the competition it's up against, it's fairly good gun for its tier. I find I make it work very well, especially with the amount of crew training I have and the equipment I have. It makes the aim time pretty fast. Well, faster. I've taken off about 4 seconds off that 15-second reload from the in-game stats here. Looking at my crew, you can see that I play this tank quite a lot. This is also the crew that I use on my P110E5, and I've had this crew probably since my M6, and I kept it up through the E5, and it's the crew I use on my T34. It's the crew I use on my, I use it on my American heavy tanks pretty much. As you can see, for the most part, the first skill in all my crew members is Brothers in Arms. That's just because Brothers in Arms gives you, once you get everybody with Brothers in Arms, it gives you the a bonus to all skills, and well, that's always a good thing. For second skills, I have a lot of perks here. I know I have 6th Sense on the Commander, I have Deadeye, or I'm actually not entirely sure what the next one is. Let's see. Second one is Deadeye. Yeah, it is Deadeye, which increases critical damage. I believe I have off-road driving on the driver, help with driving off-road on sand and whatnot. Situational awareness on my radio operator. And then I have repairs and safe stowage on the loaders. Going for the third skill, I have Eagle Eye, which it does come in handy. It's nice to know when your enemy tank has a knocked out engine, or has a damaged loader, or a damaged ammo rack. For the gunner, I have Snapshot, which I do fire on the move sometimes in this tank, and it is quite nice to be able to do that. Oh, it's also good for playing peekaboo around corners. I have clutch braking on the driver for the third skill. It's nice to have that extra turn capability. It's not much, but it does help a little bit. For the radio operator, I just went with repairs. It's radio operator, I don't really use much of their specific skills necessarily. For one of the loaders, I've gone with Adrenaline Rush. I do tend to get in people's faces a lot with this tank, and it's nice to be able to have that extra reload when you're down to the wire, about 10% health and whatnot. And then for the last one, I also have Adrenaline Rush, because this is also one of my use on my E5. In fact, this loader here on the bottom is my one I use my E5. So that's what I would do for skills. For equipment modules, large caliber tank gun rammer, you're going to want that, because that 15-second reload can hurt you if you don't have the gun barrel loaded up often enough. It can hurt. Vents, plus 5% to all crew skills. That's always nice, especially on a tank where you want to make money and you need as much skill as possible. And then for the last one, I'm going to the vertical stabilizer. Easier to, more aim during turret movement and rotation, so whenever you're peeking around corners really fast and want to get off that shot really quick, it's nice to be able to do that with this gun. And the aiming time is pretty bad, so having as much accuracy increase is needed. Alright, so in order to get in the armor, I'm going to switch over to Tank Inspector, and we're going to take a look at the different armors of this tank. It can get kind of tricky if you're not careful, but mostly it's straightforward. But I'm going to switch over and I'll be right back. Alright, so here we are in Tank Inspector, and we're going to get straight into it and look at the armor here. Alright, so here's the armor of the T34. Okay, so from the front, looking at the hull and lower glacis here, not really much difference here. You're looking at about 120 on the bottom. You're looking at about 130 on the top. It's not going to really matter. Most guns, most Tier 8 guns shooting back at you, even Tier 6 guns, aren't going to have much problem. Particularly the Russian guns, like the KV-1S's gun, the 122, and even the T-150's gun, the 107, should have no problem, or should have very little problem penetrating through your hull. Even if you angle it, yeah, the hull is not going to do much for you. And if you angle too much, you're exposing your side, which is, is even worse. So, hull, yeah, you want to try and hide this as best you can, using your gun depression. This, as you find out with most American tank destroyer or heavy tanks, they have great gun depression, which is really nice. And what makes them really good with their gun depression is their turrets. Looking at this turret, automatic ricochets, 690, ricochet, 340, 280, very well sloped. Up here, yeah, most tanks are not going to be able to penetrate this turret mantlet reliably. Unless you're facing off against the Panzer E100 or a 215B183, you can do very well by showing only your turret. Now, the one downside of showing your turret is artillery. It can be a problem, especially if the artillery player is good and knows what they're doing. They will target you first and take you out, because hull down American heavy tanks can be quite problematic for teams. Also, when you are hull down, this cupola up top can be a very big problem. I know a lot of people will try and shoot for this because that's one of the weaknesses of the tank, is, at least with most Americans, is the cupola on top, especially when they're hull down. That's where your commander is, and your commander is going to get knocked out a lot. People are going to be shooting at this, and they will knock him out fairly easily if they hit it. But then it's not always the easiest target to hit. So even if you're hull down, try and wiggle your turret a little bit, or move your tank a little bit back and forth. Make sure to try and make them miss. But that's the way to really look at this tank, is to hull it down. Excuse me. From the sides, I know the ammo rack is somewhere in here, this area vicinity. The tracks, they can eat shots, and I'm going to show you a game where I am able to side scrape and take a lot of shots at my tracks. Engine deck back here. If artillery hits you back here, it's going to hurt quite a bit. But overall, hitting this engine deck is not the easiest thing to do. Sides and rear, the armor, there's no hope of really having anything, unless you're going up against something really, really small caliber. Sides and rear are not going to do much for you. So you want to try and keep your front to the enemy as much as possible. You want to keep your hull hidden as much as possible, and that's the way to go with this tank. So that wraps up the tank inspector, the armor portion. So I'm going to pull up a gameplay, and we'll get it right into that. Alright, so here's one of the first of 3 games I want to show you. This was not the best, not a win, unfortunately, but I wanted to show this game because I wanted to show you what I meant by hull down, and it's a tier 10 game on Prohorovka. Not a lot of tier 10s, but a good number. So I'm going to go over here to this big hill and try and put this turret and hull to good work. This game was it was okay. It wasn't the best game. I wish it would turn out better, but it'll get the point across. As you can see, there's a T135 in front of me. T125, very heavily armored tank, unless you know where to shoot. Aiming for the cupola is a valid option, as I just showed. I hit him in the cupola for 436. And we're going to play with this E5 for a little bit, and sit back, kind of only exposing our turret if we can. There are a lot of tier 10 TDs on the enemy team, and I really don't like playing against tier 10 TDs in this thing, because they know that the T34 is a dangerous gun, and they typically go for the tier 8 first. So in a tier 10 game like this, I would rather stay back like this and take on as much damage as I can. As you can see, we've already done about 900 damage to that T125, which is a good bit. It's about a 30's health, which is good. We've almost knocked out one of their tier 10s. And we're going to speed up a little bit more because it gets kind of boring. I do see this KD4. Now, seeing as this gun is not bad at sniping, I'm going to take a shot and actually hit for 356, a very low damage roll for this gun. But damage is damage, can't really complain. We do get a little antsy here, and I stopped paying attention to what happened at E5, and yep, and
the radio man is down. We can only signal nearby vehicles.
he made me pay for it. Typically, a shot through that front right drive wheel will knock out your radio man. In fact, any shot into the little machine gun port on your hull on the right side of your tank will most likely knock out your radio man. Radio man is not too important, I don't think. I've never had a need for that, need for him, so I just leave him dead. I typically only use my first aid kit for commander or a loader, or even the gunner. As you can see, we've taken out their E5 and their IS-8 and T34 at the cost of an E50. At this point, I was thinking it was a fair trade, but I would have liked that E50 not to YOLO down the hill. Anyways, I'm seeing there's a T34 down there at the bottom of the ridge, and I'm not sure if I want to go after him or not. Because I know there are still unspotted Tier 10 TDs that I do not want to get hit by. Especially the Jagdpanzer Z100, who could easily one-shot me if he got a direct hit and a above average damage roll. So we're going to speed up a little bit more. This middle of the game was pretty boring. And as you can see, I'm having some gun issues. I do play on a laptop, and occasionally my left thumb does tend to scratch my trackpad, and the gun discharges, as you saw it happen twice. So here I'm trying to get an advanced position, trying to help out the middle ridge, help out low in the VK 4502B. Maybe get a shot at that KV4, which is, this is a little more aggressive than I was planning on being this game, but no one was really moving forward, and I kind of felt like I needed to do something. Yeah, that ISU showed up, I took a shot, got a hit, and as soon as I shot at the ISU, the Waffle tractor showed up, and I'd already wasted a shell, which was unfortunate. As you can see, we're now losing 3-6. Not looking too good anymore, is it? I see that this Jagdpanther is moving, so I'm going to go try and help him out. I have a feeling I know what he's going to do, and I hope he doesn't. But I see this KB4. I'm going to get into a position to put a shot into him if I can. And that is the reasons why aiming in the T34 is sometimes a pain. The 3.4 second aiming time tends to take a little bit longer than you want to wait to fire the gun. I got a little trigger happy, and I fired too early. Looking for a shot with Pershing. He's pretty well hidden. And it's about this point I see that the Jagdpanther did do what I was afraid he was going to do and YOLO down the hill after this T34. So I decided to come up here and take a shot. A fairly good damage roll at 420, about 430. He did get a shot into me for about 350. Yeah, I would take that trade, but considering we're down so many tanks, it's kind of a... I see this ISU and take a shot. Nice, 390, not bad. But now we're down to 310 tanks. So as you can see, yes, not the best game in the world. Now here I'm going to show you this. This is one other reason I want to show this is this T34 was doing the right thing. He was going back and forth, trying to make it hard for me to hit his cupola, and I do actually hesitate a lot to take this shot. And it's a very risky shot that I was not wanting to take. But he is doing everything right. And I just kind of got a little bit lucky, a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, and I did end up knocking him out. However, my part in this battle is pretty much over, as I'm about to get waffled by the Tier 10 TD.
This vehicle has had it.
Alright, so this is the second game I'm going to show you. It's a Tier 9 game on Tundra. I'm going to be going over here to the hill with my T34. It's a Tier 9 game, very heavily in Tier 9s. This was a fun game as well. I get to use this great tank. I want to show the T34, but low profile tank on the other side of the hill, I'm not going to be able to see him. And if I do, it's going to be his turret and I won't be able to penetrate very easily. So here we're going to try and push up here. A very clutch shot on the ST1. That's the nice thing about having such a good crew, is I'm able to sometimes pull off shots like that. And here I'm going to do a little bit of side scraping. So by doing this, by side scraping, I'm giving this IS-8 my tracks at a very, very steep angle. So when he fires the gun, he knocks my tracks out, and I take no damage. So here I'm backing up a little bit. See, there's another bounce. Even the Tiger 2 bounced off. And as you can see, by doing this, I'm taking no damage while I'm punishing this IS-8 pretty badly. That's the worst thing that happens to me, is he knocks my tracks off. Whereas he's taking full damage from most of my shells. So the T34 can do this, especially against tanks that don't know what they're doing, like this IS-8 who has no clue. He's probably cursing himself right now. But yeah, side scraping can be very effective in this tank. And as you just saw, we took absolutely no actual damage to our health from that IS-8, which is a Tier 9 tank with a pretty good gun. I'm pretty sure he had the BL9, but I'm not entirely sure. So as you can see, we've pretty much won this hill. I take a shot from that T32 in the hull, but we're going to make him pay for it. T32 has a faster rate of fire by a few seconds, but the alpha damage on the T32 is much lower, 320. Well, I really do like having my 400 alpha damage, especially when I have a nice IS-8 carcass to hide behind. Alright, so we've really won this hill here. We're doing pretty well. I can't get a shot at that Tiger 2, so I back off. Let this Yak Tiger go first, and that is quite unfortunate. Enemy artillery just nailed our Yak Tiger for 1,064. Not much you can do about that. Anyways, here I'm not wanting to sit in front of that artillery as much as possible. I'm going to try and move over here and get a shot at this Tiger 2 from behind this tortoise. But unlucky for me is the tortoise is going to kill him. And so I'm going to pull down here, use my gun depression to take out the 704. I see that I was going to back up, but I see the M13 was behind me, so I decided to keep pulling forward, keep pushing the attack. I keep going around, take a hit there, but we deal out a bigger hit on the T34. And pretty much this game's done for me. There's not much more I do in this game, but overall, I mean, you can see that this gun does do work against Tier 8 and 9 tanks alike. And on those rare chances you get into a Tier 8 game with few Tier 8s, you can do a real big hurt on the enemy team with this gun. That's one of the reasons why I love it. Like I said, I love this tank because the turret and the gun. Those two things make this tank work. Compared to the other Tier 8 premiums, there's a reason why I went for this one first, is because of the gun was in the hull, the turret. After playing T29 for a while, I really liked the way that played, and so I stuck with it, and we're going to show you one more game here, and then we'll do a lot of post-game stats afterwards. Alright, so here's the last game I wanted to show you. As you can see, I'm platooned up with Kevron again. We're in our, he's in his T32, I'm in my T34. And this is one of the very few confrontation games that we have gotten into. As you can see, it's the Americans versus the Russians. Looking at the teams, doesn't look too good at the beginning. They have some very good players on their team. And this was probably one of the best games I've had in World of Tanks in a really long time, where in my Tier 8 heavy tank, I've been able to almost single-handedly help carry a Tier 10 match. And so we're going to get into it real quick. So Kevron and I, being in Tier 8 American heavy tanks with good gun depression, we're going to go to the hill. Despite wanting to stay in the back and snipe, we decided against all odds to try our luck and take the hill. Yeah. That's the thing about, one thing about being Americans versus Russians is the American tanks have better gun depression overall. A lot of the enemy team did decide to rush the middle, which was very surprising to me, and probably what led to our victory in the end. I see this 140, and I'm going to take a nice shot there at him. And now he's not feeling too bright. Nice bit of damage there, 430. And we're going to keep a hurting on him because he's a Tier 10 and he needs to get out of there. So we're going to try and use this rise here to cover our hull as much as possible. Let the 57 kind of fake him out a little bit. I'm trying to play as cautiously as I can, but looking at the hill, there's a lot of Tier 10 enemy heavies there that are problematic. So using this T37 as kind of a cover, I'm able to put another shot into the 140, and he's no longer feeling too comfortable about this position anymore. And we're going to reload and finish him off. And his pig driver was knocked out, as you can see by Eagle Eye going off. And now it's at this point that I realized that, oh, well, we have a lot of enemy Tier 10s. I put a nice shot in the IS-7 there. Kevron has taken a real big pounding from a lot of tanks, and unfortunately he is going to be able to kill the IS-7, but he's not going to be able to do much more of that the rest of this game. He didn't have a very good game, but being in a T-32 with only 200 pen at most, he was lucky to kill the IS-7. I'm trying to get a rear shot on this IS-4, but I just couldn't get up the hill. I ran over that rocky patch and I couldn't get up fast enough. But overall, we're doing very well this game. The Americans are winning 6-2. Luckily, the E4 finished off the IS-4 before I had to. So here we are, pushing up the hill. They have a few mediums up here. I see the 62A, but there's no shot. The T34 and I exchanged shots. Not bad, but I'm going to try and do some side scraping here. Hits my turret, bounces. I get a very lucky penetration at a very well angled front of the T54. And this is where we kind of play cat and mouse a little bit. I see this T57 is wanting to go off by, so I'm going to let him. If he wants to go take a hit, I'll follow him, but I'm not going to let him take the hit if he wants it. I was expecting the T54 to pop out, but he did not, so the shot didn't go anywhere I wanted it to. So I'm going to push after this T62A and put some pressure on him. The Russians are making a comeback with a push down the middle by their 268 and other heavies. And there's that well-trained crew for you. A nice 396 damage there, with the 57 finishing them off the T62A. And so now we're up in this on this top of the hill, where we're going to put our gun depression to use and try and get some side shots into the other enemy tanks here. I'm pulling up here wanting a shot at that IS-8, or that, excuse me, I want to shot the 268, but I hit the IS-4 instead. Can't really complain, it's a tier 10. And I just do not reload fast enough to put a shot into that I-268 like I was hoping to. The T34 jumped off the cliff and went down there. I get a really nice damage roll of 500. That is the max damage roll you can roll on a T34. And that was a really lucky damage roll, and I'm grateful for it on a tier 10 heavy. I'm trying to play, trying to get him to hit my turret here. He does hit me, but I do hit him back. Fair enough. I mean, I have a better position on him than he does, and he's got a MA tier 10 T124 coming onto him, which is, you know, good. I mean, less I have to worry about. I'm trying to get finagle the gun depression to get a shot at. There went Kevron. He got shot by T34. He then told me that, by the way, there's tanks coming up behind you, so I was able to get up here, turn around in enough time. If he hadn't told me, I probably would have been killed. But thanks to his warning, I was able to turn enough. This T-57 is telling me to stop, but I'm going to help him out with this T-54 and not let him get away. It's really good to get him out of the game. He was one of the better players. Allowing the T-57 to save a shell for the for the ISU 152. And at this point, it's pretty much in the bag. I mean, the T-54 is on very low health, and he's down in the bottom of the valley, and the IS-3 is getting ganged up on pretty bad. So overall, this is a very good game for me, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that in the post-game stats. But from this point, we're still alive. We took a few hits, we did quite a bit of damage, and we ended up winning the game. So let's take a look at all the post-game stats for all the games. Alright, so here's the first game we played, Battle on Prohorovka, in the Tier 10 match. As you can see, it was a defeat, yes, but that wasn't the point of the video. Looking at the, even on a defeat, we made 44,500 credits, 370 XP. It's a defeat, not much more you can expect. But looking at the team scores, we didn't do too bad for ourselves. We were the third most damage on the team and a tier 8 heavy. You know, being able to do that in a tier 8 is very good in a tier 10 game. And some of the tanks we did damage was the E5. We did for 845, and we had shots on a lot of. We did get a shot in the Waffenträger. It was a blind shot, but overall it was a very decent game. Fired 11 shots, 7 direct hits. The ones that hit penetrated. 2,500 damage almost. Received almost 2,000 damage. Overall, made about 26,000 credits on a standard account. Not bad, but it was a defeat, so it could have been better if it was a victory. But still not bad. But that's not why we're here. We're here for the other replays. I mean, the T34 is a great tank, and so we're going to pull up Tundra here. Alright, so this game was a little bit better, and it was a victory, as you saw. We had 92,500 credits, potentially. We also got 1,108 XP, enough for a first class mastery badge. I already had the mastery badge, so it didn't really matter very much. Looking at the damage, we had the most damage on our team, and not the most out of all, but very close to the 704. But 3,000 damage in a tier 8 heavy tank in a tier 9 game, not bad. Looking at the detailed report here, 10 shots fired, 10 direct hits, 10 penetrations. Yeah, I'll take that. Did about 3,000 damage, We received 9 hits, 6 penetrations, 3 non-pens. The track damage, I believe, counts as a penetration. So when I knocked my tracks off, it was a pen, I guess. Received about 3,000 damage. Not bad. Overall, we made about 80,000 credits on a standard account, which is fairly good, which is why I bought this tank, was to make credits. And now for the last game, we're going to look at, well, like I said, that's one of the best games I've played in a long time. And being able to do this was quite spectacular. So looking at the first page, you can see we had almost 130,000 credits earned on a standard account. So that's not 1.5 times for the premium, which would have been about 200,000. And that's XP is undoubled, 1,363, which is quite good. Looking at the tanks we damaged the Object 140 for 1,000, almost 1,100. The IS-4 for almost 1,200. T34 for 3. Woo! But damage is damage, so I hit the IS-7 for about 400. 62A for about 400, and the other T34 for about 700. So as you can see, I mean, being able to damage IS-4s, IS-7s, it's a good gun. It's a good tank, and being able to survive, it was a good thing. Looking at the team scores, compared to both teams, our T34 was able to do the most damage out of everyone. Believe it or not, I outscored 1, 2, 3, 4 Tier 10 American tank destroyers, 1 Tier 8 Russian or Tier 10 Russian, 1 Tier 8 Russian, and 1 Tier 9 Russian tank destroyer. I was also able to out damage IS-4, the 62A, and the 57 Heavy. Yeah, you don't see that every day. This is probably one of the tanks that can do that, at least that I've done it in. It was a great game. I had a lot of fun on this one, and it was really good that it turned out to be a win. Looking at the detailed report, we had 12 shots fired, 11 direct hits, 11 penetrations, for about 3,800 damage. We received 4 hits, 3 penetrations, for a potential of 1,400. So even if they had hit us and damaged us for full damage, we would still would have survived. But oh well, that wasn't the point of this game. Was to try and not get shot at as much as possible. We damaged 6 enemies, destroyed 2, made 110,000 credits. That's what this tank's for. And it was a great fun game. So in conclusion, this tank is really good. The gun is great, especially if you have it as well upgraded as I do. It's great for making credits. It's got a great turret, and good gun depression, and pretty good elevation too. So if you can use it on hills or rises, that's probably the best place for it. It can snipe with its .35 accuracy, but it's not always best. But overall, I would say this tank, I would recommend it. If you have it, great. This is a very good tank, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I may or may not have another tank review up today, depending on whether or not I can get the M3 Lee to cooperate. As some of you may be expecting, the M3 Lee was supposed to be done last Friday or Saturday, but I'm going to say that now I am a terrible M3 Lee driver, and the gameplay I've got is depressing. So, and I want to give the tank as best representation as I can. So we'll see. That may take a while, but so anyways, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later.